After the college entrance exams, my younger sister, Lily, wanted to travel with a male classmate. My mother didn't want her to go and told me to call and talk her out of it. When the admission letters arrived, that classmate, Ethan, got into Tsinghua or Peking University, the two most prestigious universities in China. My mother beat her chest, lamenting to the heavens, blaming me for ruining Lily's good fortune. Lily was also angry with me, thinking I meddled where I shouldn't have, causing her to miss out on an excellent boyfriend. Later, Lily was invited to Ethan's millionaire wedding. When she returned, she was furious, practically driven mad. She accidentally pushed me down the stairs. Mom and Dad stood there, watching me gasp for breath, even scolding me, saying I deserved it. Strangely, I was reborn, returning to the exact moment Mom told me to talk to Lily. That day, I told Lily, "Mom doesn't want you to travel, but I support you." Lily was invited to travel by that male classmate. Who knew what his intentions were? I'd tried to advise her before, but she wouldn't listen. Mom, on the other end of the line, sighed repeatedly, sounding extremely distressed, but this time I didn't rush to comfort her like before. I just sighed along without saying anything more. I had been reborn, knowing that after the trip, Ethan would announce his admission to Tsinghua or Peking University. If I stopped her from going, Lily would resent me, thinking I'd made her lose the chance at a brilliant boyfriend. Mom, who told me to stop her, would also turn around and blame me, saying I listened to her too much and ruined Lily's prospects. Dad, knowing about it, would even slap me twice, believing I had cost him a son-in-law who could bring honor to the family. Later, when Lily couldn't find a good job, she also blamed me. Even past 30, still without a boyfriend, she blamed me. Even when Dad was fired for gambling, the entire family still heaped all their resentment on me. Their hatred for me was so intense that Lily pushed me down the stairs, wanting me dead. Mom and Dad watched me suffocate and even cursed me, saying I deserved it. I vowed not to let that tragedy repeat. I listened to Mom's nagging worries about Lily, but this time, I made an excuse about being busy and hung up. I was the child left behind in our hometown, and so was Lily. But when she was born, our family's financial situation was much better. Mom and Dad poured all their compensation into her. I didn't want her to grow up in an environment lacking affection like I did, so I spoiled her immensely. The result was that she took Mom and Dad's favoritism and my love for granted. As for Mom, she knew I was grown and not easily taught anymore, so she always assigned me the role of the bad guy to discipline Lily, making the family happy while I was ostracized. Not long after, Mom texted me again, reminding me to call and advise Lily. As usual, I obediently replied, telling her not to worry. Then I screenshot the conversation and sent it to Lily. Before she could reply, I added, "Mom doesn't want you to go, but if you really want to, I support you." The chat box showed the other party is typing, but then stopped. Lily immediately called me, Sis, you're letting me go." "But Mom said you wouldn't and that you were about to call and forbid me." I clutched the phone, my heart full of bitterness. So in my previous life, Mom had acted first before I even called, forcing me into the role of the bad guy. I tried to suppress my indignation, sighing helplessly, "Mom is truly strange. She doesn't want you to do something but always makes me the bad guy. But now you're grown, you can't be treated like a child forever. You should have your own opinions." Lily's voice went up several pitches. "You mean all those unpleasant things you did before were because Mom told you to?" So, she had hated me for a long time. Thinking about how I had once given my all for her, skipping meals and clothes, saving money to send her to the best schools and hire the best tutors, I felt truly sad. I regained my composure, my voice even more helpless. No, that's not it. How could I bear to make you suffer if Mom and Dad weren't forcing me? I'm perfectly capable of supporting you. In my previous life, when submitting college applications, I did extensive research, even paying for expert advice to choose a promising major at a good university for her. But Lily disdained the school for its lack of prestige, stubbornly insisting on a newly opened major at a less-known, 211, university. The result was that after graduation, she couldn't find a job and lived off Mom and Dad at home. Lily brazenly demanded money and spent it without a thought. Seeing this, I grew anxious and worked hard, asking friends everywhere to find her a job. Mom and Dad, of course, didn't want to be burdened by their child, so they urged her to work. After only a few days, due to her laziness, she was criticized by her boss and immediately quit, returning home. Lily complained endlessly. Dad immediately turned to blame me, saying the job I found was useless. Mom sighed again, saying they were perfectly willing to support Lily, but I insisted on forcing her to work, making her suffer and tire herself out. Lily, who already resented me over the previous travel incident, hated me even more after hearing Mom say that. This was also the spark that led to her pushing me down the stairs later. She felt that I didn't want to see her happy, and all her misfortunes were secretly sabotaged by me. Now, I had long since cast off that responsibility. If later in life, she wasn't satisfied and wanted to blame someone, she wouldn't be blaming me. I spent the whole evening saying sweet things to Lily, then told her to ask Mom for 4,000 yuan to travel with her friends. I said, "I've given all my salary to Mom, I don't have any money left for you. Just say I arranged for you to take an office automation class. Mom will agree." I had indeed given all my salary to Mom, hoping she would take care of Lily and not let her go without food like I used to, eating only steamed buns and instant noodles until I felt dizzy. However, my main income came from bonuses and commissions. A large sum of money was still in my hands, and I hadn't told anyone. Originally, I planned to secretly reveal it to Lily when she entered university, so if she ever needed money, she could ask me. But now, I was incredibly lucky I hadn't let her know about that money. "You gave all your salary to Mom?" Lily's surprised voice made my heart ache. "Didn't you know? Mom said you don't care about our lives or deaths, you just earn money and spend it on yourself." Even though I was utterly disappointed with my family, hearing Mom lie so brazenly still hurt. Mom lied. Is it that she doesn't want to spend money on you? I wasn't afraid of Lily going to confront Mom because both mother and daughter were selfish. Each had their own schemes and never communicated openly. This was also why Lily was easily brainwashed by Mom. If she talked to Mom more, she would realize Mom was full of lies. Therefore, I didn't hesitate to use Mom and Dad's own tactics to brainwash Lily, turning myself into the kind of sister who didn't care about her life or death, just as Lily wanted. Soon after I hung up, Mom called, complaining at length, blaming me for unilaterally deciding to enroll Lily in an office automation class. I feigned injustice. Lily wanted to study it. Otherwise, should I ask for the money back now? Mom angrily cut me off, then instinctively blamed me. "Couldn't you find a cheaper class? Last time you enrolled Lily in tutoring, Dad already said not to sign her up for things on your own anymore." Mom was speechless and finally hung up with a, all right, everything has a reason." At that moment, I saw Lily's message saying she had gotten the money, and she even sent me a heart hand sticker. The millionaire wedding's bride was indeed the girl who traveled with Ethan, but it wasn't just her. There were 3 other girls. When my family blamed me, I had tried to understand everything clearly. It turned out that besides the 3 girls who went on the trip, some others, including Lily, were also invited but didn't go. These people all had one thing in common. In high school, they had bullied the bride. That post-exam trip was actually Ethan's way of getting revenge on behalf of the girl he loved. The girls who went on the trip all thought they would get to be intimate with Ethan, but in the end, they were utterly disappointed. Perhaps they were even subjected to various difficulties throughout the trip, so afterward, no one wanted to admit they had gone with him. As for those who didn't go, they had no idea Ethan had invited multiple people at once. After he announced his admission to Tsinghua or Peking University, they must have regretted it for the rest of their lives. I had explained this clearly to Lily, but she was too arrogant, always thinking Ethan treated her specially. If I hadn't stopped her from going, she would have certainly believed she would be the millionaire bride. Therefore, I wasn't worried that this trip would help the culprit, the one who pushed me to my death, become better off. Ethan was very clever. Although he didn't explicitly tell Lily that this trip was just for the 2 of them, the hints in his words were enough to make anyone misunderstand. After accepting Ethan's invitation, Lily was incredibly excited, constantly telling me how excellent he was, how good he was to her, and was certain this trip would be their love-defining journey. No wonder she hated me so much that year when I didn't let her go. 2 days later, under the guise of attending a training course in the city, Lily embarked on the journey she had longed for. In the evening, I pretended to call and ask a few casual questions. Compared to previous days, her voice was no longer as excited. It sounded somewhat subdued. I asked what was wrong, but she wouldn't say. I guessed, given her pride, she would never tell me the truth, so I added a few more feigned compliments, leaving her speechless and silent. At the same time, I started looking for a new job online. I wanted to leave this family and cut off all ties with them. When I took the middle school entrance exam, my scores were good enough to enter the honors class of a key high school, but Mom and Dad forced me into a vocational school, citing the reason of starting work early to earn money. They thought someone like me could only live my entire life trapped in their small world, never escaping them. But in reality, even before graduating from vocational school, the desserts I designed had won major awards. Later, every year I participated in baking competitions, I was always among the top in the big city where they thought it was difficult for a vocational school student to survive. It turned out to be the most suitable place for me to thrive. I told Mom and Dad that I planned to move to the city where Lily was attending university to work, making it easier to take care of her. I also said that later, when they wanted to visit Lily, they would have a place to stay. As a result, I was severely scolded. Mom and Dad always saw me as a tool for their old age. How could they bear to let me leave? I wasn't in a hurry. This was just a preventive measure. Once Lily returned from her trip, they would agree. 3 days later, Lily finished her week-long trip. I picked her up at the bus station, trying to appear as an empathetic older sister, asking her about Ethan. Lily was tired and didn't want to say much. Her pride wouldn't allow her to admit that she had been deceived by Ethan. That night, Ethan posted on his social media about his direct admission to Tsinghua or Peking University. This news, like a bolt from the blue, quickly spread throughout our small town. Mom ran to me looking unsure. "Is that Ethan the one who invited Lily to travel?" I replied, "Yes, that's him." Mom froze for a few seconds, then slapped her thigh, lamenting to the heavens and earth. Mom's cries immediately attracted Dad, who also ran over. His face was ashen. "Was it really him?" Mom nodded, and immediately afterward, Dad swung his hand to slap me. I dodged, putting on an innocent face. "Dad, why are you hitting me?" "How dare you ask why?" Dad roared. Mom, by then, had regained her composure, pointing at me and saying heartbrokenly, "Don't you know? That boy who invited Lily to travel got into Tsinghua. If you had let Lily go, he would have been our son-in-law." I maintained my calm demeanor. "I know." My indifferent attitude angered Mom even more. "You knew, and you still didn't let her go? Didn't Mom forbid her? So couldn't you have convinced Mom?" Dad wasn't exactly defending Mom, he just wanted to use a done deal to assert his authority. "I did try to convince her. That's why I finally let her go on the trip." "What?" They both glared at me simultaneously, their eyes shining with greed. Mom and Dad were the laziest people on earth, but always dreamed of changing their lives one day. As long as there was a glimmer of hope, they would treat it as a certainty. Seeing them start to get excited, I offered the reason I had prepared beforehand, which delighted them immensely. But even so, Mom didn't forget to blame me. "Why didn't you tell us earlier that Ethan got into Tsinghua?" I intended to, but that day my boss gave me a huge contract. I was too busy and forgot. Saying this, I turned to Dad. "That's why I want to move to the city where Lily goes to university. Even though the salary is a bit lower, I can transfer my household registration there. After I work for 5 years, Mom and Dad can also move there. By then, we'll be city residents. Later, when Lily marries Ethan, our family's social standing will also be more respectable." I knew their desires too well. With just a few words, I easily obtained the household registration book. Dad didn't forget to instruct me, "Once you're in the city, try to save a bit more money. If Lily marries Ethan, our family's dowry can't be too small." In the past, hearing these words, I would often feel a pang of sadness. Clearly, I was the older sister, but Mom and Dad never thought about my future. Now, I no longer cared. With a family like this, I neither needed nor wanted to keep them. Because Lily had come home, complained of tiredness, and gone to sleep, she didn't know what had happened. The next morning, waking up with dark circles under her eyes, she saw Mom and Dad unusually cheerful and grumpily asked, "What are you two crazy about so early in the morning?" Lily always spoke to Mom and Dad with that attitude. It was the same with me. Whenever she was in a bad mood, she would vent her anger on anyone, including Mom, Dad, or me. Dad would sometimes gently scold her, but this time he didn't seem to mind at all because this crumbling family desperately needed a savior. I couldn't do it, but their pampered youngest daughter could. Dad opened his mouth, his voice full of love. "Lily, your sister has told Mom and Dad everything about you and Ethan." I watched Lily's jaw drop. Before she could react, I quickly left. I told Mom and Dad, "As a vocational school student, it's really not easy for me to settle in a big city. So I have to go immediately." As Lily was about to confront me, I grabbed the household registration book and got on the high-speed train, finally escaping this family. But I wasn't going to let them off so easily. Since I started working at 18, it had been exactly 10 years. If calculated at an average salary of 2,000 yuan per month, I had given the family 240,000 yuan, not including other expenses for Lily. Before disappearing completely, I had to get some of that money back. So I answered Lily's call, letting her vent all her anger on me, then gently said, "This is indeed my fault, but only this way would Mom and Dad agree not to make me hand over all my salary. Only then could I buy you the things you once wanted but I couldn't afford." Lily might not be able to handle Mom and Dad's expectations. Perhaps she would soon confess everything. But if I bound her with material things, the situation would be different. Having been with Mom and Dad for so long, she had also become very image conscious. Even knowing our family wasn't well off, she still liked to compare herself to others. Before the college entrance exam results, she demanded the latest Apple Trio. When Mom didn't buy them for her, she blamed me for earning too little. Then she wanted a designer bag, and Mom continued to blame me. Now, with my promise, how could she pass up such a good opportunity? She just thought I, like Mom and Dad, was trying to flatter her because of Ethan. Therefore, she would definitely keep this secret, waiting until she earned enough money before speaking. Soon, she sent me a long list of items to buy, estimated at around 200,000 yuan. She brazenly demanded that I fulfill my promise. I said, "Okay, but I just started this job. The first 3 months are unpaid. You'll have to wait 3 more months." After all, in my family's eyes, I was just a vocational school student. It was already unbelievable that I had found a job in the city. Lily impatiently said she wanted the money before she started university. I pretended to think, then said, "Mom said she's kept my salary for the past 10 years, a total of 240,000 yuan. I can ask for it back to buy things for you, but you'll have to help me." This wasn't my original plan, but if I could use Lily's greed to get the money back sooner, all the better. Because I had treated her too well in the past, she didn't suspect anything at all. Excited, she asked what I needed her to do. I said, "I haven't thought of anything yet, but for now, just focus on developing your relationship with Ethan." On the other end of the line, her voice hesitated a bit, but to satisfy her greed, she chose to hide the truth. In reality, my new job wasn't in the city where Lily was attending university, but on a luxurious international cruise ship. I planned that after retrieving my household registration and money, I would disappear. Dad would definitely not let it go. He might report me to the police to fine me, so for a short period, I couldn't settle anywhere. After completing all the procedures, there were still over 40 days before the cruise ship departed. I went to the city where Lily applied for university, rented a basement room in the suburbs, and found a part-time job at a bakery in a nearby village. Mom and Dad were confident that they had completely tamed me. They never thought I would leave them, let alone now that Lily had a boyfriend who was a Tsinghua student. I had no reason to leave this family. But years of habit made me understand that they would definitely come to the city to find me, to know my new workplace and residence before they could feel at ease. Therefore, before I got my money back, I still had to put in some effort. During this time, I often texted Lily, asking about the progress between her and Ethan. Because she wanted expensive admission gifts, she lied, saying they had confirmed their relationship. But out of guilt, she provided many details to make me believe that she and Ethan were genuinely very close. She also promised me that, when she had money later, she would definitely treat me well. When the time was right, I told Mom and Dad that I had settled in the city. As expected, they asked to see my workplace and residence and conveniently visit Lily's university. But Lily wouldn't let them come to the school, using the excuse that she had a date with Ethan. She thought that with those luxurious items, she had ascended to the rich and no longer shared the same world with us. It was the same in my previous life. She wouldn't let Mom and Dad visit her at school. Every time I brought her things, if her classmates saw me, she would say I was a food delivery person. Mom and Dad also realized this. They told me that Lily had a boyfriend who was a Tsinghua student, so she no longer valued them. But they said it with a pitiful air, as if blaming her. In my previous life, to receive a little affection from my family, I would try to please them. Buying things and giving money was normal. If it were the old me, I might even take them on a tour of the city to win their favor. but now they were the ones who had to give me money. I pretended to stammer to Mom and Dad. Actually, it's not entirely our fault that Lily is like this. Mom, being sharp, sensed something. What did Lily tell you? Didn't she want the latest apple trio? Dad cut in. Isn't it because you can't earn money? That's right, but didn't I give all my salary to Mom and Dad before? Over the years, you must have saved quite a bit. Or how about using that money to buy things for Lily? No, Mom immediately objected. That money is for her dowry. When she said this, Mom clearly lacked confidence. I knew she had invested that money and lost it, with no way to get it back. Our family became poor because Dad was addicted to gambling and Mom invested recklessly. When I started working, they said they were saving money for me, but I knew very well I would never get it back. I only hoped they would treat Lily well. But when the whole family hated me, I knew Mom couldn't resist temptation, took all that money, invested it, and lost everything. Dad didn't know about this. He still thought my salary was carefully stored. That wasn't just his retirement fund, but also the guarantee for him to continue gambling. I laughed coldly inwardly, but outwardly I was very sincere. It was okay not to buy those things for Lily before, but now we have to buy them. What's the problem? If we absolutely have to buy them, figure it out yourself. I didn't answer. I just showed Mom and Dad the average post-graduation salary for Ethan's major, 1 million yuan. Mom and Dad's eyes lit up. I nodded. Ethan's starting salary after graduation is at least 1 million yuan, but whether we can use that money is hard to say. Mom and Dad also know Lily's personality. If we anger her, it's not impossible for her to cut ties with us. Mom worried, so what do you suggest? My idea is to take out all your 10 years of salary, consider it an investment for Lily. Mom and Dad were gamblers by nature. Faced with such a huge temptation, they were easily persuaded. Then, I skillfully sowed discord between them and Lily, and showed them the messages Lily sent me about how much Ethan liked her. Dad was stunned for a moment after hearing it, then immediately intended to transfer the money to me. Mom stammered, unable to hide it any longer, and confessed the truth. Dad erupted in anger, immediately slapping Mom twice hard. Still not satisfied, he kicked her to the ground, then sat on her and beat her. This time, Mom not only lied to him about money, but also severely hurt his authority as the head of the family. I stood to one side, just as every time Dad beat me in the past, Mom would always stand by, watching coldly. In the past, I often shielded Mom, so most of the blows fell on me. But this time, without me, Mom quickly couldn't bear it and cried out to me for help. I just imitated her, coldly saying sarcastic words, "Mom, you're really like this. So old and still don't understand things. You need to remember this often." Dad, hearing this, became even more excited, his eyes red, beating Mom even more violently. Early the next morning, Dad and Mom, their faces swollen like pigs' heads, returned to our hometown. They wanted to make Lily happy so that when she became rich, she wouldn't forget her family. They went back to borrow money for me. I told Lily to be cold to Mom and Dad when she returned home. The worse her attitude, the better. She was too lazy to ask for reasons. As long as she got her things, that was enough. Borrowing money didn't go smoothly. Our relatives knew Mom and Dad's character too well, knowing that once money was lent, it would be like a stone thrown into the water, with no chance of getting it back. Mom called again, sighing and complaining that she couldn't borrow money. Lily also didn't smile at her, which made her very uncomfortable. She wanted to use her old trick, forcing me to take responsibility for everything. Unfortunately, the me of now would no longer be her shield. I just said, "If you can't borrow it, then don't, Mom." It's enough for Lily to live well later. 5 days after that call, Mom and Dad had borrowed money online themselves. Finally, they gathered 240,000 yuan and gave it to me. This money was the result of another beating Mom had to endure. Finally, she and Dad brought the money to me. To this day, I still don't understand why Lily was always cold to Mom, and even Dad often hit her, yet only I treated her well. So why did she never acknowledge me? But now, I no longer cared about the answer. Having obtained the money, I texted both Lily and Mom and Dad. To Lily, I said, "The money couldn't be retrieved. Mom and Dad think you already have a boyfriend who's at Tsinghua student, so from now on, you're on your own." To Mom and Dad, I said, "We've been tricked by Lily. There were many other girls who traveled with Ethan, not just her. Ethan wasn't pursuing her at all. In my previous life, they had deceived me countless times, spinning me around like a top. This life, it was my turn to throw dust in their eyes. After completing my tasks, I changed my SIM card and boarded the cruise ship, beginning a 2-month international journey. When I set foot on land, I was still a little worried. 1 day passed, 3 days passed, then a week passed. I used my ID to book a hotel, but no police or anyone brought Mom and Dad to find me. Finally, I was relieved. Unexpectedly, the day before I was scheduled to board the ship again, the police found me. They said that Mom and Dad had together severely injured Lily, and while fleeing, they had been in a car accident and died instantly. Lily was discovered by neighbors and taken to the hospital, but due to delays in treatment, her life was now in critical condition. Before she died, she wanted to see me one last time. My mind went blank. By the time I regained my composure, I was standing in the ICU. Lily lay in bed, covered in tubes, laboriously calling my name. Her eyes were filled with hatred, her hands trembling, but she couldn't lift them. I immediately realized Lily had also been reborn. She hated me even more, wanting to kill me right then and there. I forced out a few tears and said, "Lily, I know you hate Mom and Dad, but they..." Before I could finish, I covered my face and ran out, locking myself in the women's restroom. The accompanying police officer, fearing I would do something foolish, kept comforting me from outside. But little did they know, I was sitting on the toilet, making no sound, but my mouth was uncontrollably smiling. I didn't care when Lily had been reborn, nor did I care why she still hadn't realized her own mistakes. What mattered was that the nightmare of my previous life had finally ended completely. After another international journey, I quit my job. I confidently found a high-paying job in a city I loved, becoming a pastry chef at a 5-star hotel. Here, I had all the ingredients I needed, and I was free to create as I wished. A new life was waiting for me.